This episode is sponsored by WOMEL, a community working to support women in all aspects of business and leadership. Her business, her voice, her reinvention. How Margot Levette became an international show host, author, and entrepreneur in 1 year.
Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margot Levette. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Margot Levette here. Brand new episode, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Well, you know, we never really talk about sales and on this show, and it is something that, man, shouldn't we have this conversation? Yes, we do. Today's guest is a LinkedIn personal branding and sales strategist. She helps small businesses, business owners, and entrepreneurs to sell more and to sell more effectively. I'm talking about Belinda Aramide. And I hope that I said the last name correct, but welcome, Belinda. Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm walking on a stage with Oprah. I have arrived, people.
Well, you know what you have, because as far as Her Business, Her Voice is concerned, you are the first person to come on and actually help us get our minds wrapped around personal branding and wrapping that up with selling, because so many people feel overwhelmed, kind of confused, and very uncomfortable when it comes to this thing of selling. But that's what we're all about. We are entrepreneurs, and we have to sell, or else it's going to be bye-bye in a little bit of time. So
Exactly.
I want to open up this conversation with the fact that you teach people how to influence the buying process of and engage B2B, business to business clients. So will you elaborate on this thing of influence and prospecting strategies, how they work together? Why should we even pay attention to any of this?
Yeah. So I guess to answer that question, I want to kind of rewind maybe 3.5 years in my own life's journey. So I was someone who was very fascinated, and still am very fascinated, with influencer marketing and how someone could sit in their room, record a series of videos over a period of time, and then get people to move in a way that, you know, that brought businesses to their knees. You know, an influencer would talk about a product, and that product would be sold out in minutes, you know, maybe a couple of days at most. And I thought, how is it that they're doing this? And so I really started to study them. I started building relationships with influencers who were doing it full time, understanding, you know, how is it that they're able to do what they're doing? And then I started building relationships on the brand side. You know, why are you hiring influencers? Why are they valuable to your business? How are you deciding which influencers to work with and which ones not to? And some, you know, at the time I was helping influencers on the business side. So I was helping them, you know, they were very creative. They could create really interesting, you know, content. But when it came to the business of it, they really didn't know what to do. And so I helped them be their own advocates. I taught them the business side. Basically what I did, I'm like, I know how to talk to these people. I'm going to teach you how to do that too. And then I ended up having our third child. So I've got 3 small kids. And after about 18 months after he was born, I said, okay, I'm going to go back into corporate selling. And I thought, what would happen if I applied influencer tactics into how I was trying to get the attention of these really important, you know, vice presidents, executives of like banks and, Fortune 500 companies, because these people are notoriously difficult to get the attention of, right? So that's really how the influence side came into it, because of the knowledge and the background I had from working with influencers. And I said, well, if they can get into, VPs and, Fortune 500, executives, at the end of the day, without the title, they're people too. So if these influencers know how to move people, what if I try to apply that into into what I do on the corporate side? And so that's where the idea of salesfluence, the idea of acting like an influencer, but applying it to one's business, versus having to hire out an influencer to do that work for you. And, I've been in sales for over 10 years, and I've seen the way the sales process works. I've seen it change. Whereas before, I used to be the gatekeeper to information, because information is power, right? And so when I started out my career, if someone wanted any information about anything, they had to go through me. So it made me very important. But now we have the internet. And obviously the internet was around when I started my career back then too. But, in terms of from a content standpoint, it is completely shifted. And so now a prospect doesn't have to go through me in order to find out things about me, things about my business, things about our services. So it means that I'm now getting engaged with a prospect much later on in the process. And that's the thing for everyone. I mean, look, even if you're buying something in a store, what do? You go on Google and you're researching the item before you even go into the store. So even the sales associate, like even when I go into Best Buy, the other day I needed, a special port for my my computer. And as soon as they came up to me, oh, do you need anything? I'm like, I just need you to point me in the right direction. I've already done all of the work. Whereas 5 years ago, I'd be like I'd be at the mercy of the sales associate and said, I need your help and direction. So with all of that coming, that backstory, that's why influence is so important, because now you want to influence the way that they think, and they ultimately come to the decision of what it is that they want to buy. And that's why having a personal brand is so important, because in order to influence, you have to have trust. You have to show expertise, so on and so forth. That know, like, trust factor that marketers are always talking about. It all starts with you showing your expertise, you having a personal brand, and you ultimately being able to teach the person how to buy.
Wow. That's saying a lot. And that perspective is so very important. As you spoke, I could see that, because everybody Googles that. That is just kind of like the Google and YouTube. You want to know anything, go to Google it or go to YouTube. So
Exactly.
that does cut down on what you actually need from a person. But what I love about what you just said is that we have to take on the influencer, the super cape. It's up to us to become the influencer. So because people still need that personal touch, but if we don't position ourselves to be known, to be likable, positioned as an expert, who are we going to lead? Is that what I hear you saying?
Absolutely. And it's a big part of my mission, because there's a lot of people who are getting attention who don't necessarily have all of the experience. And I want to empower people who have that experience, who have that deep knowledge. But a lot of times what I've seen is those with the most knowledge are the most humble, and are the ones who aren't shouting from the rooftops that I'm the best, I'm knowledgeable. And I want to meet them in the middle, where you're never going to be that person who's like, look at me, I'm the most important person in the world. I suffer from that, that weight as well. But I'm going to teach you how you can let people know that you're not somebody to mess with when it comes to the knowledge and the experience part, in a way that feels more natural. And because, as you just said, if you don't tell people what you know, they're never going to know. And that's often the thing that's standing behind people not getting the clients, not getting the success that they've earned, all because they are, they're not letting people know the depth of their knowledge or ultimately what they can do for them.
Well, Belinda, I have a quick question here. Why do you think that is? The people that really do know a lot. I mean, once they start talking, the passion comes out and everything. It's like, oh my God, you read, you study, you eat this stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Why is it that you kind of tend to stand in the shadows and it's the loud mouth, here I am, flailing of the hands type of person that everybody pays attention to? Why is that?
I think that's a really good question. I think it probably comes down to one of two things. The first thing being like a cultural, and even a generational thing. So what I've noticed is people who are, 40, 45 plus come from a generation where it's like you put your head down and you do the damn work, and you will get noticed, whereas the younger generation comes from a generation where it's like you got celebrated because you decided to wake up on time today. Now, not my kids. Like, this is your job. You wake up so that you don't get yelled at. This is the agreement that we have as a unit. So, they've been raised to tell everyone about your accomplishments. You need to tell people, tell. Whereas we have, people who have 20 plus years experience in their industry, or who are real trailblazers with the things that they've done. Because of the cultural and the generational shift, it's the comfort level of speaking about, your expertise isn't there. You haven't been, it's not how you were taught to be. And then it's also, I think, people have this apprehension that what if I'm wrong, and that fear of being called out because you're wrong. And so when I work with people, and that's always the question that comes up, for instance, I have a client now who's in the financial services industry, and part of what they do is analysis of the markets. You're going to be wrong. If you're analyzing the market, your prediction is going to be incorrect. And it's what I do is teach people that it's okay to be wrong, or to have the wrong forecast on something, right? That's what makes you authentic. That's what makes you real. What makes you approachable. That's what makes you human. And ultimately, that's what people are looking for. It's that human to human connection.
Yes. And that's missing and on so many levels. It's just impossible almost to achieve and to give out to some people. Can I back it back a moment I want to make sure that the boomers are listening and understand, because I myself am a boomer. Those days of keeping your head down and somebody's going to do the damn work and somebody's going to notice you. Those days pretty much are over in the workforce, just from what I can see and from what I've experienced. So to me, you have to become an influencer so that people will understand what you're all about. You have to evolve into this person that takes off the imposter syndrome, fights that off and says, this is what I know, this is what I do, and this is what I've invested in so that I can become this and remain this and stay relevant. So for the baby boomers that are listening, come on, let's come on into this 2019. Millennials are not wrong when it's time to shout from the rooftop what you're all about and what you can do, because we have learned a lot. We have invested thousands of dollars into ourselves, and come on, we have a lot to give. So get with Belinda so that she can help you position yourself, get your confidence where it needs to be. And Belinda's not paying me to say this. I'm just hey, this is what I know. Because just from speaking with other people who have been on the show, other guests, we have bring a lot to the table, and the world is waiting for all of us. So let's position ourselves so that we can continue to be effective and do it in the most effective inspirational way. So that I just had to get on the soapbox about that because, hey, that laying low and humble, and sooner or later somebody's going to see you. Well, doggone it, if you're 60 years old, how much more time do you have before they're going to find you? Toot your horn and get on out there.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't have said it better myself, Margo. I couldn't have.
Well, I love what you are doing and what you bring. You talked, when we spoke off the mic, you spoke of niching down. And when I see the work that you are doing, you really are helping us to leverage ourselves on LinkedIn. Will you take us to the power of LinkedIn? Why B2B, why should we even take care of our profiles and be on LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, it's a number of things. First and foremost, I would say opportunity. So LinkedIn right now is in this hyper growth phase. Microsoft, which owns LinkedIn, they're putting a lot of money into the platform. And a lot of people are now, it's almost like someone moves into a house down the street. And, at first you don't notice them because, they're just quiet. But then, people are starting to go to the house for this party. Mm-hmm. And, as more and more people go to the house, more and more people on the street are, poking their heads out their window saying, what's going on down the street? LinkedIn is that house with more and more people going to that party. And I'm trying to encourage people, go to that party before the house gets too full. Mm-hmm. Right now, people are interested. It's a very unique social media platform, unlike Instagram or Facebook, and even Twitter, where it is a very business-focused platform, where if you go there and you are talking about your business, you are talking about your industry expertise, people are leaning into those conversations on LinkedIn in a way that it's just not as widely accepted as if you were to do it on Facebook. I'm sure everyone, if you have a business, you've had one person, in your family or your friend group or your acquaintance group is like, oh, shut up, stop talking about this or that, policing, your love of your industry and your sharing of your expertise. Whereas on LinkedIn, it's encouraged. It's, what are you an industry expert in and what do you have to add to the conversation? Mm-hmm. But then I think, just as importantly it is very easy to get free attention over on LinkedIn. And this is something I've been harping on for the last couple of months, to my clients, to the people that follow me and my content on the platform is right now, LinkedIn is where Facebook was back in 2010 through to like 2013, where you could start a business page. You didn't have to pay to get likes. You didn't have to pay to boost, a post. You didn't have to pay for attention. Mm-hmm. Right now, if you approach LinkedIn strategically, you can very easily be seen by hundreds, if not thousands, of people who can become your next client. You can reach out to the CEO of a large company and actually get access to them, and they will respond, that actual person. Right now, if you send an email to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, guess who's reading the email first? Their assistant. Exactly. Right now you have direct access to literally anybody that you want in the entire business world. Where else can you get that kind of access to people? Mm-hmm. But it's not going to stay this way forever. Just like email used to be, you could get 90% of people on your email list opening emails. It's not like that in 2019. Just like Facebook, you send out a post on your business page and all of your followers would see the post. That's not the case anymore. You're lucky if you can get maybe 10 or 15% of people for free organically seeing your content. And so right now it is that golden era for you to build up your brand. The field is open. And so if you get in early, it becomes easier for you to find your 10 by 10, foot space. But the longer you wait and the more people who come onto the field, the harder and harder it is for you to lay claim to your space and within your industry.
Mm-hmm. And those changes, you want to stay ahead. The changes are coming. I mean, you're in the industry. You've been a part of LinkedIn for some time, so you know about the changes that have taken place just within the last couple of years. Geraldine Thomas, she's a woman that was a guest on the show. And she was early LinkedIn user, and she says a lot of the benefits that were back in the day no longer exist, and some of the things that worked, they don't exist anymore. They haven't been replaced. So everybody better pay attention to Belinda when she says the winds of change are coming to even LinkedIn, and the free visibility and the access to the CEOs, the decision makers, the influencers, those that make a difference, and to the people that you're supposed to be in front of. That window is probably going to go through some changes. So Belinda, then working with you and you're positioning people as a sales fluencer, using those methods. How does that, and I hate to ask a person about guarantees because very few people give guarantees, but if a person puts in the work, and I notice that if a person puts in the work, then according to the testimonies, this is what happens. This is what will happen for you. How does this link in with LinkedIn? When a person's working with you, you really help them position and grab that prime real estate on LinkedIn. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I do. But it's not just about attention, because a lot of people get obsessed about, I want comments and likes and views. But it's about, what do you do once you get attention? Because getting 30,000 views and no clients means nothing. Getting comments every single day means nothing, unless that's ultimately all you want to do. I'm not a trust fund baby, so I need something to come from the time I put in to anything, right? So it's about, yes, getting that attention, but then how do we convert that attention into something that is valuable for your business, or something that is valuable for your positioning as a thought leader? What is your goal? So it's okay, I can teach you how to get attention all day long, but then what? And I think that's what a lot of people aren't thinking about, is once it's like when a child says, mommy, 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 and you're like, yes. And they're like, nothing. That's what a lot of people do when they get that attention, is they don't have anything to say, or how they don't have that kind of strategy or the steps to converting that attention into money.
That's it. Now that's the golden nugget right there. A lot of us are there, have been there. Hey, has my name all over it. You raise your hand, and people are looking, and you back there flailing, hey. And then how do you convert that to dollars? That and people, Belinda, have you found that free is good, free is okay, but after a while, you have to stop the free because it ceases to mean anything to people who don't have, as I like to say, have some skin in the game. People expect to have skin in the game. Is that what you're finding?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've tried all the various models, and of free, and using that as a way to kind of get people into the door. And free has to be a step, and it has to be part of a larger kind of a game plan. And then there needs to be that distinction between, free and paid. And I think that a lot of people get stuck on free because free is easy. You get that kind of dopamine hit that, oh, they see value, they appreciate me. And it feels good when people say, oh my gosh, this was the best, free webinar ever, or the best, free ebook ever. But at the end of the day, you can't write, these accolades to the power company and say, listen, I don't have $200 for you, but I've got this amazing comment that says that I'm indeed as smart as I've been trying to tell all of you that I am.
Yeah. It sounds like we get stuck there because we want the instant gratification that somebody recognizes you and they value your work. When in reality, if they really value your work, they're going to stroke a check or run that credit card, and they're going to take you up on what you are all about. Now that's the arena that I'm living in these days. I mean, they're going to invest in what you're all about and move the needle forward.
Yeah.
So, wow.
And we use free as a way to show them that and this is what I say all the time. I said, if you think my free stuff is good, wait until you see what's behind the paywall. And it's owning that confidently and not letting people take advantage of, I think that women, especially, we have this good girl nature where it's that people pleasing nature of, oh, well, it's just answering one question. It's just doing this and it's just doing that. But we have to have that distinction of, I deserve to be paid for the expertise that you value enough to take time out of your day to ask me for. Yes. And don't get caught up in the idea that, well, if I just answer these 5 questions, that then they'll pay me. It's know that you're free, whatever you choose to put out for free, that is the free, that lays the groundwork. And if anybody wants above and beyond what you've decided you want to give away for free, that needs to be paid for. And it all starts with, I know mindset is kind of a buzzword, excuse me, but it's about having that mindset that you deserve to be paid, period, point blank. You have taken years, you have used your money, you put skin in the game yourself in order to be something, to provide something of value to people. And own it. It is okay for you to charge for what you know, because guess what? That's commerce. That is capitalism. Apple's not giving away iPhones for free. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're not. And so just because what your value is between your ears doesn't make it any less valuable. It actually makes it more valuable, because this phone I got a year and a half ago, now I've got to get a new one. So I can guarantee if I spent $1,000 on some coaching, that information would still be valuable to me today.
Well, I tell you what, you have opened up the reality and kicking the butt for so many women and men who are stuck on the free, they'll like me, all the warm accolades, all that warm and fuzzy stuff. Time for that to go bye-bye for so many people. So how do we, and you know what, this conversation could go on and on and on, because you've already given so many golden nuggets about LinkedIn and giving ourselves permission to charge what we are worth, and that just a myriad of things, conversation here. I so appreciate it. I just have, I almost forgot. 2 fun questions, because I'm going to have to say, we're going to close this out, because I have a myriad of questions I still want to ask, but I don't want to fire hose anybody. So that just means you're going to have to come back. 2 fun questions. The first one, what is your favorite food, Belinda?
So a little about me. I love food. I think who doesn't, right? So my favorite food, you could ask me this question in 6 months and it'll be different, but current day Belinda is loving sushi. If I can, when anyone asks me, what do you want for dinner? I'm like, sushi. Lunch, sushi. I'll even have, depending on how early it is, sushi for breakfast. It's just sushi all day.
That's interesting. How did you get up? How did that become your taste of choice these days?
Well, I used to live in Vancouver, BC in Canada, and they, that's just like sushi life is their culture, I guess, because, they're right by the ocean. So, every day at lunch, everyone is always having sushi. If they were bringing in lunch to the office, it was always sushi. So that's how, that just became, a mark of food. And I think I do miss living in BC a lot. So British Columbia. And being on the West Coast, it's basically treason as an East Coaster. But I have to say, there's just something special about the West Coast that, once you go and you spend any amount of time, I don't think it ever really leaves you. So I think sushi is my way of kind of my connection to the West Coast as much as I can.
I love that. I love the story. And you are so right. I'm from the Midwest, moved to Southern California. And honey, I don't even go to the mountains. Bye-bye to the snow. I could care less.
It's like, no, West Coast is the best coast.
It is. It is. Final question. What are you reading, or what podcast are you listening to these days?
So the book I'm actually reading right now, and I have the actual physical copy of, is The $100 Startup. Reinvent the way you make a living, do what you love, and create a new future. So, and it's literally right beside me because I haven't read a physical book in a while. Normally I listen to audiobooks. And the reason why I pulled this off of my bookshelf, because I've had it for months, is I think that a lot of times in life, we can overcomplicate things. And I like the simplicity of this book and the let's get back to basics, way of developing a business and a brand. And so I really like reading books like this because it puts me in the right frame of mind, just not for my own business, but also for my clients. Because I feel as a consultant, as a coach, the more I'm able to be in the mind set and the frame of mind of the people that I work with, the more agile I can be in my thinking, the more efficient I can be with my thinking, the better I can serve them, the more value I can give to them. And ultimately, I want to run a very lean operation within my own business. And so I think that this book, so far, it's really encompassing all those things for me. Whenever I read, I don't just read for myself. I read for my clients. I read for my friends, because what I learn, I can then, download into other people. And so that's what I think that this book right now is because ultimately that's what my clients all want, right? They want life to be easier. They want client acquisition to be easier. They want to feel more comfortable with sales. Yes. And so the more I can fold not just my own experiences, but the things that I learn into my coaching, into the content that I share. Ultimately, I want, if someone's giving me 30 seconds or they're giving me 30 years, I want them to be like, you know what, I'm so glad that I gave that amount of time, because time is precious. We don't know how much any of us have of it left. And so attention is something that I always, I take with the utmost seriousness.
Wow. Well, it sounds like something that I need to get my hands on also, because to operate in a much leaner way, it sounds like simplicity is always king as far as I'm concerned also.
Yes. Amen.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. You have given us so much information, opened up my mind concerning sales fluence and how does influence, I never put influence in the equation. Never saw it that way. Mm-hmm. So thank you so very much. You're a lady worth working with. I'll just throw it on out there.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no worries, no worries. When I look at your website and the people that you've worked with men, women, all ages. So when I as a boomer, I'm always coming from a boomer's point of mind, but this thing of sales is important. And as the winds of the economy shift and the mindsets of people shift, we don't always know how to keep up with what's going on, how to center ourselves before our audience. Everything's always in a state of influx. So I always tell people, you really help yourself when you get yourself a mentor, a coach, a strategist. And I know there's a lot of people out there bearing those titles, but it's up to me to always bring on the ones that are going to move the needle for you and get you where you need to go. And as far as this thing of sales and how to really leverage yourself and wrap your mind around how you position yourself with all of this. Belinda is the lady that can help you get where you need to go. So consult with her. 60 minutes, up to 4 hours. She's the lady. I put it out there.
Thank you.
And I don't endorse people. I really, really don't. People that I personally haven't had many conversations with or worked with, but there's just, you are a lady who are reading for your clients. You are always looking out for them. You are up on the industry. You're alerting us to what's going on with LinkedIn. These are things that we need to know. And when you're choosing somebody to work with, these are the things that I look for. I really, really do. So
thank you. And sorry, I wanted to leave with one thing. Specifically speaking to the boomers, I know that a lot of times when I work with people, the tech, and it can feel really overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I promise you that even for I'm, a millennial myself, that it is the rapid change of pace. It is daunting for everyone. It is a lot for everyone to take over. So I don't want boomers to feel like, don't let technology stand in the way of you shining your light. Seek out the information, because I'm someone who personally has so much respect for experience, because at the end of the day, you can't read or Google your way into experience. You just have to live it, and in the relatively short time I've been, on this planet, it is my experiences that I've had to go through that allow me to be of value to others. And so, please, the world needs the wisdom that comes from experience that you just have to go through day after day, year after year. So don't let technology stand in the way of you sharing your message and your experience, because Lord knows, just switch on the news. Mm-hmm. We need it. We need what you know.
Indeed. Indeed. Wow. Belinda, how do people get in contact with you, madam?
I think probably the easiest way is on my website, belindalaurie.com, or on LinkedIn. I post content all the time there if you want to just learn. And all over on LinkedIn, you can just search Belinda Aramide. But I think that's the easiest way, or even just send me an email, hello@belindalaurie, BELINDALAURIE.com.
Okay. And I'll like to also mention the fact that you have some videos over on YouTube.
I do. I just kind of some of the basics, like some of the content, the video content that is done really well over on LinkedIn. I said, okay, let me put it up on YouTube for people to find. So, one of my blind spots, or one of the things I need to work on, is really leveraging YouTube as a platform. So, even the experts, there are things that we have to work on all the time too. So
everything's always changing. We're always evolving. And I just want to throw in, finally, I'm looking at the clock. I'm want to respect your time. I just want to throw in also, we do come from a time where we Google and YouTube everything. Excuse me. But when it comes to this information that Belinda has, I don't think that you can Google it and YouTube it. I think that you really need to get with Belinda so that you can glean and have applicable movement, because when it comes to this thing of sales, we want to be positioned so that we can make our best next move. And that only comes from working with a person. And that's just what I believe. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that, because I pride myself on the structure and like you said, the best next step, because walking around aimlessly, you'll get somewhere, but will you get to exactly where you intended to? That's the key.
Wow, I heard that. Well, I tell you what, I'm looking at the clock. This conversation has been wonderful. I pray, excuse me, I pray that, excuse me, I pray that it has moved people to make a move. Here's one of those blooper moments. Sorry.
Real life. Hashtag real life.
But I want people to be moved to action. So without further ado, thank you, Belinda. Thank you, audience. And I guess my throat is saying, sign off, girl. Get off this mic. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Her business, her voice, her conversation. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks, Belinda.
Oh.